And now I have to get into Once Upon a Time in LingJian Mountain. And I'm losing my voice because I'm getting so passionate. I can't remember how many points I have on this, but it's pretty long too because there was a lot of messed up stuff in this one. So point number 0. This is a comedy based on stereotypes, I believe. One of the hashtags for it is slapsticks comedy, which I don't know much about. So I'm trying my darndest to give it as much grace as possible. But I still had my mind blown several times over in ways that because even in a comedy, doing it on purpose, there are lines, in my opinion. Also, in my opinion, they crossed those lines far too many times. So let's get into it. Basically, Once Upon a Time in LingJian Mountain, it's the most unconventional and weird journey of cultivation I have ever seen. It's nothing but a comedy and they had some pretty serious stuff in there, but it was hard to see the serious stuff through the comedy. But basically, the gist of it is that like at the beginning, there's this calamity that almost happens. Everything gets almost destroyed by a bunch of meteorites, but then all of a sudden the meteorites get whoosh, and everybody gets to live, and it had something to do, like, I'm still very, very, very unclear over who they were saying that Wang Lu is. Is he literally supposedly like a reincarnation of, and I totally forget his name, or is he just container, like the other guy was there, kind of sort of connected to him because he was related to him somehow? I don't understand what they were saying. I legit don't understand what they were saying. But either way, Wang Lu, the point is, Wang Lu is the main character. He's extremely stereotypical, very spotlighted. I did not realize how spotlighted he would be until we'll get there. Wang Lu is the main character of the drama. So he's constantly, like, say it's comedy, he's constantly commenting on, well, you know, this can't happen to me because I'm a main character, and that can't happen to me because I'm a main character, and don't worry about this, it'll all get straightened out because I'm the main character. So, which was quite funny in many places and intensely irritating later. But get there. But the point is, he's a genius. And for part of the show, yes, he was a genius. And then for the other part of it, no, he wasn't. Everybody else was just too brainless. He's not a genius anymore. He's just a normal person, and everybody else is moronic, brainless idiots. We'll get there. But this whole incident happens. I forget now how old they said he was. 16? Was he like 16 or 17 at the beginning of it? I think I had the ages in my head and now I forget what they are. He's like mid-teens, mid to late teens at the beginning of the drama. But he has a run-in with Wang Wu. And yes, for some dumb reason, they named them Wang Lu and Wang Wu. He has a run-in with Wang Wu, and because of what she says, like, the LingJian Mountain opens up to accept disciples for the first time in like 100 years or something. Like, it's been a long time. So they have these trials that people have to go through, and whoever passes the trials gets to join the LingJian Mountain. And because of this interaction that he and Wang Wu had, Wang Lu decides to go and take part in these trials. So the first part of the drama is him taking part in the trials, him and everybody else taking part in the trials. And after they go through the trials, there's this whole thing, this whole big ordeal, and he ends up being Wang Wu's disciple. And then the whole rest of the drama from there is like, you know, chapters of arcs. So let's get to the arcs. Number 1 point, that training is beating him up to a literal pulp. This isn't humor, and it also makes absolutely no sense. Plus, notice how fine it is to watch the girls do it to him, the guy, but you never once see the girl going through this. We're told that she had to go through the exact same thing. We're told that she had to get beaten to a pulp as well in order to learn this. Do you ever see any of it? No, because the absolute beyond horror of horrors, imagining a guy beating a woman like this. However, when it's the girls beating the guy like this, it's humor. Point number 2. Lack of communication leads to alienation. Wang Lu says this in episode 9, and we see examples of this over and over again in this drama. Done on purpose or by accident? I don't know, but keep that in mind. We come back to it more than once. Number 3, The one who cares for you the most is someone who treats you most harshly, says Ling in episode 12. But the short reply to that is that 250% depends on what you mean by harshly. It's like how they, used to at least, claim that a boy pulling your hair is doing it because he likes you. Know what? There is a line. And dramas like this are constantly crossing it. Majorly. Yet still calling it some form of love. There is a line. Stop it. And this goes right into the fact it drives me insane when people are expected to be mind readers. If you know someone pretty good and yet still think that they're just being mean for the sake of being mean, then dude, chill out and use your brain, would you? But when Wang Lu barely knows Wang Wu and continues to barely know her because she won't let him get to know her, but is expected to see through this facade she is putting up, and that she is actually doing all of this because she actually is caring and wants to help him, when everything she is doing points to the exact opposite being true, and yet it's Wang Lu that's chided for not understanding. First example of alienation quote. There is no communication happening here. She is not explaining herself at all. There is no communication. And yet he's somehow the one at fault for not being able to read her mind. He should know that as her master, she's going to keep her word. Why? He doesn't know her. He has no evidence of her being a promise keeper. He should know that as her master, she really does care about him. Why? She's done nothing for him for the past 2 years. In fact, she's made his life, difficult. Everything about it is just, are you kidding me? 4. Character spotlighting. As typical in dramas like this, it started out not so bad, and the main character basically told you from the get-go that it was going to happen. Like I said, comedy based on purposeful stereotypes, but my word, it got so bad throughout this drama. Worse and worse and worse, because the more of a spotlight there was on Wang Lu, the stupider everyone around him got, except Wang Wu. And it literally reached the point where I realized that this drama was not just employing plot devices to the ultimate level of throwing up and run screaming. The characters themselves were nothing but devices that were so easily thrown away. I was floored and basically sat speechless throughout the entire rest of the drama, because what the crap am I supposed to do with this? Now let's get into the actual arcs. And here again, we have to remember, like I say, this is a comedy, and I'm pretty sure they were doing all of this on purpose. They were compressing and speeding up and spotlighting, etc. All kinds of at one point, he literally made the statement, I feel like I just heard every romance novel I've ever read. They're purposely doing this on purpose. But, like I said, there are lines, and they crossed some of them that I don't think they should have been crossing. Satire is a thing. I don't know if this is supposed to be a satire or not. I don't know if they were purposely doing this in order to point out how horrible some of these things are when dramas employ these plots. I don't know. All I know is I got very worked up. And I have good reasons for being worked up. And if their point was to make you go, that is so wrong, then good for them. But, okay, the first arc was the idols arc. This right here was my huge problem with the drama falling into your smile, because this is what the drama is all about, and my biggest problem with it is that it's much, much too real. So because it's so real, I need to bite my tongue rather hard not to say much more than this. It's so thoroughly disgusting, and it made me extra angry in this drama for 3 specific reasons. 1, the absolute filler aspect of it. It is the most disconnected plot device, and though it had a use, it was 90% unnecessary, and therefore entirely aggravating to the please just delete it state. 2, the compressed time, i.e. how fast it escalated to that level. And here I am, literally throwing everybody in that crowd into the water. Go, sploosh, sploosh, splash. And no, I'm not giving you life preservers. 3, what it begins doing to Hai and Luli. This arc is where Wang Lu starts turning into a jerk, actually, because Hai tried to talk to him about Luli, and he pretty much brushes him off. And then near the end of this, out of the blue, Wang Lu, the genius, realizes and points out exactly what Hai was trying to tell him. But everyone just goes, oh, hey, you're right. Like, don't mention at all that Hai already said that. Spotlighting and trampling all over other characters while at it. But this continues into the next mind-blowing arc. Second mind-blowing arc, the intense mishandling of health issues. Lines, people, lines. But this one has actually 3 mind-blowing aspects to it. I'll get to the mental health part last. First of all, the only out-of-character thing I myself noticed with Lu Li was that is what Hai noticed. Not what Wang Lu supposedly noticed. And I say supposedly because he says it like he has been seeing it more than just the one insane instance they mentioned, but I saw no indication that he was. And the one instance they mentioned actually doesn't seem that out of character for her, in my opinion. She gets hyped up like that numerous times throughout this drama. Like, really bad portrayal on whose part, if that was supposed to be noticeably different. Because it was not noticeably different to me. I legit don't know what they're talking about. But in this whole arc, that's not even a big deal after what comes next. The math all over the place is entirely thrown out the window, I swear. Given ages and time spans they mentioned before, and to the fact that they used the same actors for Lu Li during every flashback is insane, considering what age they are telling me she was. I.e., in the current time, they told me she is 16, and yet, not only did they use the same actress for her 4 years ago, which means she would have been 14 in that scene, and yet they're using an actress that is close to 30 to play her. They also go back 10 years to when she is 6. 6! And they are using the same actress for her. Why? But even this still is nothing in comparison to what follows. Oh, and here is where I can actually break it into 3 separate mind-blowing things. 3 messed up, overlapping each other. Let's break it down. 1, the erase it and then throw the eraser into the middle of the ocean way that Hai and Lu Li's entire relationship is handled. I am speechless. Why do they give them any kind of story at all if this is what you were going to do with it? I'm not joking. Why? You took the time for how many episodes to build up to this, and then you show me the whole flashback story that pulls all the heartstrings, only to entirely wipe it out by having characters that had no right, and I mean absolutely zero. Don't even try to argue with me on this. They had no right to make this decision. They wipe Hai's memory, and the drama itself wipes away Yilu. We're getting there. Who's Yuli? Sorry, yeah, Yuli. We'll get there. And thus, you built something sky high and then erased it and threw the eraser into the ocean. And what's even more mind-blowing is that while wiping out the Hai and Yuli part of it, Lu Li and Hai are also wiped out to the point where there is nothing left for the entire rest of the drama. There is literally nothing there. Even when Hai is a traitor, etc., there is literally nothing there. So much for Hai being Lu Li's best times 3 friend ever. Like Lu Li said, you are my best friend ever. And it does all this building up and all of this whatever. And then Lu Li herself vanishes from the story for episodes on end. After this, she vanishes from the story. And then when she comes back, it's like nothing. There's absolutely nothing there. Second mind-blowing of this arc is Lu Li's dad. Wang Lu trying to use the egg example with the guy to prove why they should forgive him does not work. See, that's exactly what happened, he says. No, actually, it's literally not even comparable. You were shoving eggs into that guy's hands without warning. He had no idea what was going on and reacted out of reflex and confusion to eggs, not people. Eggs. Chicken eggs. And you claim that the guy purposefully choosing to massacre his family and then move on to massacring tons of other people, all in the name of trying to protect the world at large, is the same thing. No, it's not. You're trying to tell me he had, like Lu Li's father, had no other choice I already told you how much I hate it when people tell me that they have no other choice when yes, they did. But you neglected to explain why. You claim he had no choice. You expected to name why. In the name of sanity, he never went to any of the other sects for help. He is literally the head of the top sect. There are how many other sects? It's not even that you skimmed over the fact that he actually did go to anybody else. Nobody else knew this was happening. He did not go to anybody for help. Not even for advice. Not even for suggestions. He didn't tell anybody. He didn't do any of that. He just instantly jumped onto the kill everyone option as if that's all he could do. He picked up the eggs on his own. Nobody forced them into his hands, and he dropped the eggs on purpose. It wasn't an accidental reflex. Wang Lu ultimately tries to make the claim that the guy is due some sympathy because he's not entirely a villain, because his intentions were good, and I cannot disagree more. As far as I can see, he put himself on the slipperiest slope he could possibly put himself on, and then not only slid down it on the sharpest skates he could find, he also took his daughter, who according to the timeline was 6 years old, with him. That is not somebody without choices. And then later on they try to claim that it has something to do with this dark cloud taking over him. Do not do that. Do not do that. This guy chose the options that he chose. His daughter, Yu Li, is due some sympathy. She's the only one that's due some sympathy here. She is a victim that should be held accountable for her chosen actions, but due to her age and the manipulation from her dad, as well as her obvious regret for her actions, she is due some mercy, not her father. And the third one, this is the mental health part, is Lu Li versus Yu Li. And this is the insane mishandling of mental health part that I was talking about, because this drama, just like Detective from 2020, Detective from 2020, first of all, mislabeled the disorder. They call it schizophrenia again when what they're talking about is DID. This is the second time that I've heard them call it schizophrenia when they're actually talking about DID. And for another thing, they once again inaccurately portrayed it. Basically, everything about it that they mention. Because they leave out tons and tons and tons of details. They just use it as a plot device. Again, they're just using plot device. DID, like in Detective, it wasn't just a plot device. It was the whole thing. But in this one, it's literally nothing but a plot device. And that is not okay. It is never okay to use a legit mental health disorder that legit affects people as a plot device, as a throwaway plot device that you completely mangle and mishandle. That is not okay. It is not okay. For one thing, the first split / the only split supposedly happened when Yu Li was. That's too old. As for the rest of it, I don't know. Yu Li claims she was pretty much co-con the entire time after Lu Li came into existence, which I don't get the impression from what I've learned is possible. But there are so many details missing I can't definitively say. And worse, in the end, they tell me that Yu Li dies. 1, alters cannot die. They can go dormant and they can fuse, but they cannot die. And 2, this whole portion of the story is when I first realized that the characters themselves were turning into devices, because that is all it turned into. A lazy, irresponsible, ultimately disgusting way of avoiding something far, far too important to be avoiding. I.e., once again, just like Hai and Lu Li's past, but even worse, bring this whole huge, utterly, shockingly horrific story of bloody massacre. Family on family, and then family on strangers. Supposedly, it was a good thing that he killed his family because that was better than massacring everybody, and yet in the end he massacred everybody anyway. So what? But forgive the guy because his intentions were good. And where was I? Then not only entirely sweep all of that under the rug by killing off both perpetrators, her dad and Yu Li, but also justify the worst of them, i.e. her father, to the point of glorifying him as a hero. They do later. They pretty much glorify him as a hero. And then erase the other, i.e. Yu Li, from everyone's memory. They literally erased her from only Wang Wu and Wang Lu know that she existed anymore. That's it. They just, because they erased her from Hai's memory. Nobody else knows she exists. Except they kind of do. It's so awkward. Right after you wipe Hai's memory, you bring the two masters in, and they spill the beans right in front of Hai. So ultimately, the only thing you erased was the good part. Because right in front of Hai, these two masters show up and say, you are the daughter of this mass murderer, and you yourself helped mass murder everybody. So the only thing that actually got wiped from Hai's memory was that he and her actually had a good memory. Bravo! I mean, all over the place, bravo! My mind is blown, and I was entirely floored by this arch. And I'm out of words. So let's move on, because we're not even done. The third arc is Wang Lu with his parents. We'll get back to the heart sword. Oh, this part made me mad for different reasons. Wang Lu was taken out of character here, for one thing. According to his character, this is not how he would have handled it. I am utterly convinced this is not how he would have handled it. Even if you wanted to put this into your story, this is not how that character would have handled it. You took him out of character here. Totally out of character. How did this even happen the first time is what I'd like to know. Given how his parents react here, I would dearly love to know how on earth he escaped them to begin with. His mom says, no, stay. And Wang Lu says, okay. Literally 2 seconds ago. Like, I could time it. It wasn't actually 2 seconds. It was maybe 30 seconds. It was maybe 2 minutes ago. You were telling people that you will forever and always, to the point of ghosthood, be a member of LingJian sect. And now, about face, you are completely abandoning them. What number 1? Extended to what number 2 about this being the way Wang Lu, out of character, completely throws away the promises he made, the friends he made, the responsibilities he has, etc., etc., etc. His dreams and goals being one of the things he throws away, but absolutely not the biggest deal in my opinion, and yet that's the only one that's talked about in the end. Which is what? Number 3. Wang Lu, thanks to his mum and his childhood sweetheart, is now all of a sudden out of the blue engaged. But within 1 week, within a week, it's her that up and goes, never mind, I can't bear to give up my dreams, and you know, you really shouldn't either, so bye-bye! Which is what number 2 first, because it was her that said yes first, but also now because the fact that this childhood sweetheart, which should have been a deep personal connection, but this whole disregard of the entire thing just wipes it right off the map, the same way that Hai and Lu Li were. In other words, they bring up the fact that he has a childhood sweetheart. They make it look all like, you're like, oh, when he realizes that this is his childhood sweetheart, and everything he does, like, it doesn't even matter that he doesn't have that kind of feeling for her anymore. That's not the point. They literally disregard the fact that he did at one point. You tell me he has something so deep as a childhood sweetheart, and yet it's gone. They do that so many times in this drama. So many times. Like, how else do I describe it? They plunk you right down in the middle of the ocean, and then just, you're on dry land. And you're like, I feel like I'm still drowning. What just happened? Oh, my head. Oh, my head. Moving on to arc number 4. Wang Lu says, if someone tries to hurt my friend in the name of love, I will find out and kill him. After everything that just happened with Lu Li's father. If you can't see the insanity of this quote, after everything he just did with Lu Li's father, you need help. This whole arc was mind-blowing, 1, because of the back and forth. Already this drama was doing that, where good guys and bad guys are constantly not the one you thought they were when they were first introduced. But then this arc takes it to a whole new level, when he's a bad guy, but no, he's not. But no, he's not a good guy. But no, he's not a bad guy. But no, he's not a good guy. Back and forth and back and forth. And then it escalates to alive, now dead. Now alive, now dead. Now, the whiplash I will have for the rest of my life over this one. But also, it was mind-blowing because of 2. Being some of the literal worst advice ever that I have ever heard at least shades of before, but this one is just like, way more blatant. Some of the quotes: "You need to be happy right now and leave the worries for the future." Wrong. "I hope that when you know the truth about each other, they won't be so upset. Ah, so what? All they need is love." This is pure insanity, people. Pure insanity. Absolutely essential to a healthy, happy, long-lasting relationship, even a good friendship, never mind with a spouse, is trust. Not blind faith. Trust based on evidence. And back to that alienation quote again, communication. Never mind the small things that already Nick's getting married first. Just overblow it to the stuff like real identities and evil monsters being trapped inside you equals too scared to trust someone with a secret like that. Equals do not get married to them. And I mean absolutely on pain of death. Do not get married to them. No, 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 no. You do not get married to someone like that. No, no. If you can't trust them with your real identity, if you are too afraid to tell them who you really are, too afraid to tell them, do not get married. Are you kidding me? And the fifth time my mind was blown, the whole heart sword thing. After that over-the-top dramatic time we first saw this thing being used when Wang Lu nearly lost his life. Now here we are casually pulling it out over a frickin' dress to use on literally everybody who just casually stands under it. Nope, I didn't take it. Yep, you're telling the truth. I fell out of my chair and stayed lying on the floor, staring at the ceiling. Or is that the stars? I'm not sure anymore. And in the middle of all this, Wang Lu slams the guy with, "You kidnapped Hai, didn't you?" But when the sword says that no, he didn't, everybody instantly wipes that from their memory to continue focusing on the flippin' dress. Fine, whatever. But this whole thing with Hai was brought into the drama way too late. No matter which way they had gone with it, whether it was a real backstab or a fake backstab, doesn't even matter. They brought it in too late. In the middle of all of this, we also have Wang Lu being spotlit so badly that he himself says, "Forget your wisdom, save your questions, only listen to me." And I am thoroughly disgusted and walking away. Because they also have characters who vanished from the story, popping back out of the woodwork, like literally nothing happened. Like, literally nothing that happened to them throughout the drama actually happened to them. Just utterly wipe it all out of it. Like, you never seen it. Just gone. Poof. Eraser was thrown into the middle of the ocean. And by the way, just for the record, here's a funny truth for you. Having a clear conscience does not make someone guiltless. Truth bomb for you. And that's all I'm going to say. The whole way, like the bad guy, who he is, and what actually happened to, I forget what his name is, and what actually happened in the past, and all that kind of stuff, they flash back to that stupid scene way too many times. But all of that was actually, like, my word. And whoa, Wang Lu's face when Wang Wu kisses him while drunk. Ouch! Oh, that was well done. All of that was well done enough. And like, I wouldn't say this drama's not worth watching. But at the same time, there's my point, isn't it? Several things were set up well, but then obliterated. So, if the drama continued any further, would this also be obliterated? Apparently there is a second season coming, so I guess we'll see. Maybe. If they actually act on actually making this, maybe we'll have to wait 10 years. Because also the whole thing with this being a fake parting between Wang Lu and Hai, guess what? I'm now laughing like someone tied up in an insane asylum because what is followed with is the actual parting. Why? Just why? Why? And that's all I'm going to say. So much potential, but so much fatigue and utter insanity due to my brains being blown to Mars over and over and over again. I am done. Tell me, people that wrote this drama, were you doing all of that on purpose? to prove exactly what I was complaining about, that all of it is utter insanity and stupid and should stop being used? Because if that's what you were trying to do, so yeah, possibly my least favorite of his characters, because actually that was actually one cool thing about that one was Wang Lu plus Wang Wu. Once they actually started communicating with each other, and like those two are actually, their personality wise, whether you're talking about them as a romantic couple or just like as a master and disciple, no matter which aspect of it you look at them, those two actors did an amazing job of like those two characters playing off each other. Because like, my goodness, I mean, I complained that they expected him to read her mind, but at the same time, in another way, their personalities are so similar that they kinda can read each other's mind. They are so coordinated. Once you get to the point where they're actually coordinated, they are so coordinated. It's incredible. Like, on the ball with each other. Ooh, those two did a good job. But I have to say, I actually don't really like Wang Lu's character because he is way too over the top. Like, it's the negative kind of arrogant. Because, like, in a way, it's like when people are arrogant and yet at the same time, that's kind of sort of just a face they put on and you can tell that they actually do care about each other. I mean, about other people, and they actually are caring about them and taking care of them and listening to them, etc. This guy doesn't do any of that. Like I said, he literally had that quote where he told them to, like, you know, forget their own wisdom, don't ask questions, just, like, literally, what is the word? Completely 100% do everything I tell you to do and listen to everything I say and say what I want you to say, and, like, you literally have no mind of your own. He turned into a cult leader, dude. You are turning into a cult leader. You literally won't let them have any free will of their own. You literally are telling them to let you completely 100% control them. That is literally what you just told them to do. And it's probably just within that setting of that time, because it turns out he actually had a specific plan, you know, etc., etc., and there was all this going on. That is actually disgusting behavior. You are completely 100% disregarding these people, their brains, their personalities, their everything. You're just trampling all over them, and it's disgusting. So, like, there were many times in that drama where he's cool, but, like, that was one of the last things I watched, and I was very definitively swayed by my, like for Zhu Kai and other characters I had already seen. So if you take all of that out of it and just look at Wang Lu, he's actually probably my least favorite character, because he's a jackass. Except that him and Wang Wu are cool together. So there you go. Now with those ones, because I had so much to say about that one, and so little, like, you know, my explosiveness, that's gonna have to be the end of this video. And I'm starting to lose my voice and I'm getting tired of filming, but at the same time, now I only have 2 dramas left. So I will continue filming, but that is the end of this video. So see you in the next one. Tell me what your thoughts were about those 2 dramas. Especially the one that's a comedy / it's slapstick. So is slapstick anything like satire? Was that the point of this drama? Was the utter insanity of it all? You tell me. And can you see why I was bothered by some of those, and why I say even as a comedy they crossed the line a few times? What were your thoughts if you saw them? Thanks for watching. Bye.